and I'll give a short. Okay, perfect. Today, yes, thank you. Today, for our Super Saturday presentation of Apple Core at Dallas, we've got Philip Michaels, who is a contributing editor to Tom's Guide. If you're familiar with Tom's Guide on the internet, has all kinds of great articles and things about Apple and other non-Apple things, actually. For those of you who play Wordle every day like I do, there's a Tom's Guide Wordle thing that I look at. But I read a great article that Philip wrote on iOS 17 a while back, so I asked him to join us and give us a talk on iOS 17. So I'll turn it over, and we'll wrap this up by 11:45 and take a look at the eclipse.
Great. So thank you for having me here today. I'm really excited to talk to you. Just a bit about my background. I've been with Tom's Guide for the last 8 years. Before that, I spent just shy of 15 years at Macworld. So I've been writing about Apple and Apple-related things since basically 1999. I was there at the Macworld Expo where Steve Jobs showed off the first iPhone. So I've been pretty much writing about the iPhone and iOS from the get-go. So iOS 17, a little bit different from more recent updates. In that iOS 15, iOS 16 had some pretty substantial changes and quite a bit of them. iOS 17, Apple kind of took a step back. It's frankly more of a maintenance upgrade, but there are some pretty significant changes in there. One of the reasons why Apple took a step back, several reasons really, when you've been doing it for 17 versions, you begin to run out of things to add and improve upon. Although there are some significant enhancements. Also, the rumor was that Apple's software teams were being stretched pretty thin developing for the Vision Pro headset, and originally it was going to be an even more scaled back update. There was a report in Bloomberg around March of this year that said, well, we've talked to some users and these are some much requested features that we have. So what I thought I'd do is sort of go over some of my favorite features. I'm going to post a link in the chat, and it will also be in my presentation, but this is to a Google Doc which has links to the Tom's Guide articles with step-by-step instructions for some of the how-tos some of the features that I'll be talking about today. I don't think it would be interesting for me just to walk through every step during this presentation, and that would take a very long time. So my favorite features, and let me see if I can share my screen. If not, no big deal. Okay.
Should be able to.
Yes, it says host disabled participant screen sharing. If not, I can just carry on.
We are changing that setting.
Okay.
On the fly.
Okay, try again.
And there we go. All right. Zoom to share my screen. Oh dear. Zoom. Okay, Zoom, I will allow you to share my screen. Okay, Modified settings. No, it might not be able to. Okay, let's try it one more time. Desktop 1, share. There we go.
Yeah.
So let's go to the slideshow. All right, that is also the link to the Google Doc that I mentioned earlier. In case you didn't see it in the chat, I'll vamp for a little bit if you want to copy that down. So My favorite feature, I always like to talk about this one. I think it's my absolute favorite feature in iOS 17. It's you can create grocery list and reminders will automatically sort the products you add by category, say dairy, meat, produce, that sort of thing. I had always used notes for my grocery list because I'm able to share it with my wife. She and I can go to different stores and tackle the grocery list, and we can see each other tick off the items in real time. But in reminders, it's very neat that as you type in what you want to buy, it will sort it automatically, and it happens in real time. And if it gets it wrong and you correct it, and it's very easy to move things to the proper category, it remembers. The first time I used the feature, I put Parmesan cheese in there, and I just wrote Parmesan. It didn't know that that was supposed to be a cheese. I moved it to cheese, and on subsequent lists, that's where it goes. So that's very useful. And the way to do this feature is, as highlighted in the screenshot there, when you're creating a list, go to list type and select groceries instead of standard, and it will just work automatically for you. A really cool feature that I like a lot. So another a neat thing, and this goes back to notes, is you're able to now link notes to each other using a little keyboard trick. I use notes to do a lot of research. I've researched trips, and instead of having one big long file with places to stay and places to see, I can have two different notes and link between them. What you do is you type the arrow key twice. That brings up a pop-up menu with all your other notes listed there. You tap on the one you want to link to, and a link is created right there in the note itself. The one tip that I would have if you do use this feature is you've got to go and add backlinks to the other notes. So you basically have to do this twice. But it's, again, a really nice time saver, and it really helps you get more out of notes. Downloading offline maps. This was the big change, I think, to the version of Maps in iOS 17. And yes, it's a feature that Google Maps has had for a while, but I don't use Google Maps. I prefer Apple Maps. And so I'm very happy that it's there. I like to take trips to the far north coast here in California, where the cellular reception isn't very good. So before I leave, I download a map onto my iPhone, and it works just the same navigation as it would if you did have a cellular connection. You lose some features like real-time traffic or notifications about construction going on. The trick with offline maps is to there are two tips that I have for you. You should download it well in advance of going to the area where there is no cellular connectivity, obviously, because that way you can be sure that the map is on there. When you do download an offline map, you get a rectangular box that has the area that it will download to your phone. My advice is to make that box as large as possible, and that way you get more of an area and won't get cut out. It does take up more space on your iPhone if you do it that way, but after about 2 weeks, the downloaded map is automatically deleted if you don't manage it. So it takes up a little bit of space temporarily, but it's very manageable. Also, I went to Hawaii a while back, and much of the downloaded offline map was going to be out in the ocean. I shrunk it down so that I didn't have to waste space with driving directions into the Pacific. So that was a very nice feature. Like that one a lot. Mood tracking in health. This was one of the big changes to iOS 17 health. There were a lot of snippy headlines about it actually after WWDC, with people going, "Oh, Apple, oh, it's a mood ring on your phone." Well, it's not really that. Mood tracking, you do it once a day. You've got sliders to just kind of say what your emotional state is in. And the value in it is if you do it regularly and do it over time, you've got a nice chart that shows how your mood is affected, what's been affecting it, because you can check little boxes, say, oh, I'm very happy because I had a great day with my family. So you can tap family, and you can pinpoint the things that affect your mood. It's very helpful if you are monitoring your own mental health or working with a therapist to talk about the things that are affecting your mood. And I found it very useful myself. You can set reminders each day to get in the habit of tracking health, much like you can set reminders to track your medications in the health app. But again, I just think it's a nice addition, and I like what Apple is doing with the health tracking features. All right. This is a neat one, although it's a feature that I personally, I don't understand the point of stickers, but lots of people like them. You can take little photos or GIFs or what have you and drag them into text messages in the iOS 17 Messages app, and use them as reactions to text. Fine, but I think this is a cool addition to that capability. You can now do live stickers, which takes the live photos that you've shot. Those are the photos that have a little bit of movement and sound in them, and it basically adds motion to the sticker that you can add, and it's really it's kind of a cool feature. It taps into the visual lookup feature that Apple introduced in iOS 15, if you remember. And then last year in iOS 16, it added a bit where you can tap on a photo and pull an object out of it and paste it anywhere in an app that accepts copy paste. Now you can do that with live photos, and that's cool. That's a photo of my daughter and her friend rocking out, and if we could do motion there, we would have them moving around their heads. There's another nice one down there in the sticker drawer, which was added to messages of my daughter twirling. It's just a fun little tool, not the most essential thing added to iOS 17, but if you do like the stickers feature, Apple really expanded it this year. This is another addition to visual lookup, which, as you may or may not know, you could use it to look up plants. You could use it to look up the breeds of dogs. Now you can use it to look up recipes. If you take a photo of food, all you have to do is point your camera at some food, take the photo, swipe up from the photo, and there should be a visual lookup cue there, and it will tap recipes. It can be hit or miss. I had some grilled ahi tuna at a restaurant once, took a photo of it, and the first recipe I got was grilled cauliflower. So that was not quite what I was looking for. Other times I've taken photos of, say, some barbecued ribs and gotten some really good recipes out of that. That's not the only tool that visual lookup is added. You can also point your camera at laundry tags and those indecipherable symbols of how to handle your clothes in the laundry. You are now able to get interpretations of that from your iPhone. You can do the same thing with the dashboard lights on your car. So those are the two big additions to visual lookup. I personally like the recipe one the most. Oh, interactive widgets. This is a fun one. So with interactive widgets, what you can do is, as you know, widgets give you a nice little glance at information from an app, but really if you tap on them, what you're really doing is launching the app. You're not actually interacting with the widget. That's changed with some of the widgets in iOS 17. Apps with playback features, like if you have a widget for the music app, you can control playback directly from within the widget itself. My favorite instance is reminders, where you can set up a widget that has your to-do list for the day. As you complete the items, you can tap the item right there in the widget without launching reminders. There's a neat little animation where the completed task will disappear in a puff of smoke, and that counter down in the corner will go down from 2 to 1 to 0. And if you're the sort of person who, like me, needs that little visual reward to get things done, it makes you feel like you've really accomplished something, ticking off that box and seeing your to-do list shrink in front of you. So that's fun. I hope to see more interactive widgets out there. And I know that now that iOS 17 is out in the wild, some third-party app makers are releasing interactive widgets of their own. And it's a nice addition to the operating system. This is a fun one. Photos, very minor change, but as you may remember, photos can use facial recognition to recognize people in photos, and you can tag those people, and it will create automatic albums of any time you snap a photo of your kid or your partner or your friend. It will add that photo to the album. Now it can do that with pets. That is my cat Chauncey over there. And all I had to do was tag him in one photo, and from then on, the iOS photos just adds him to the album, and it is actually pretty smart. Chauncey is not my first orange and white cat, and the other previous cat does not appear in his photo file, which is very cool and a very good use of the facial recognition technology. A very minor change to messages. Messages had about 8 changes. We mentioned the live stickers. I think this is the most useful one. It's a way to catch up on text messages in group chats when you've not been in the chat for a while. The groups that I'm in, they have this unerring ability to send messages right when I'm on deadline and or focused on other things. So what happens now is that when you're not paying attention to a group chat, a little arrow will appear there on the right side of the transcript of the chat session. Tap it and you'll go right to the last message that you read. So it's a very useful way of making sure that you see every text message, even if you can't look at it right away. Our how-to editor, Peter Walensky, suggested this one. He's also our cameras editor. He loves high-end photography, and this is a camera app edition where you can now add a level to the camera app. You go into settings, find the camera app settings in there, and there's a little toggle that adds a level. It's basically 3 white lines, 2 on the edge, 1 in the middle that tilts as you tilt your camera. And when you manage to link them up into a straight line, it'll turn yellow, and that's the visual cue that you're taking a steady shot and not something that looks like the old Adam West Batman TV show with the Dutch angle. So it's an interesting feature, and if you do like having a level to help you make sure that your pictures are completely straight, this is a nice little setting to toggle on. Oh, the multiple timers. There's not really a lot of how to launch multiple timers. You just say either launch them with Siri, or you can launch them with from the clock app. How many timers can you launch? Well, just to find out, one day I launched 26 timers and then wondered what I was doing with my life and stopped. So at least 26, possibly more. Now, when you've got all those timers going, this is the more critical part of the feature. You can actually label them. If you go into the clock app and the timers tab, tap on the timers that are running. There's an option to add a label so that if you're, say, running multiple timers as you're cooking dinner, you've got something in the oven, you've got something on the stovetop, you can label it so that you're able to keep each timer straight. Another thing that you'll notice if you go into the timers tab, there's now a recent timers list of all the timers you've run recently. It's helpful, again, if you use a lot of the same timers over and over again and use that label feature. You can just tap that and launch that timer. And if you're foolish enough to try and run 26 timers at once, you'll want to pare down that list. It's very easy to swipe and delete all your old timers as well. So if you wondered why your iPhone could only run one timer at once before, Apple has now made that question moot. So good for them. I don't own AirPods Pro 2, but I kind of wish I did because of this feature that is more of an AirPods software update, but you manage it through iOS 17. So I decided to include it here. There's a new feature in AirPods Pro 2 called conversational awareness. If you're wearing your AirPods, listening to a podcast, listening to music, and it detects that you're talking to someone. I like to listen to my AirPods when I'm doing the dishes, and my wife will come up and talk to me, and I've got to physically take them out. What conversational awareness does is it will drop the audio as you're talking. It will detect that you're talking, drop the audio, and you don't have to remove your AirPods anymore. Again, a great feature. If you have AirPods Pro 2, you manage it through settings. You basically, when your AirPods are connected to your iPhone, they'll appear right there in the settings. You tap that, and there's a conversational awareness toggle right there on the list. Lunar data in weather. This is a nice addition. I know y'all are gonna go look at the solar eclipse later, but this is now part of weather. When you tap on the weather app and launch it, if you scroll down about 3/4 of the way down the page, you will see a moon data. It will have whether it's waxing, whether it's waning, when the moon rise and moon set will be. If you scroll down a little further, you'll see a lunar calendar, which shows you when the full moons are going to be for the current month, and you can jump ahead and jump behind to see previous full moons. Unfortunately, it doesn't include labels for blue moons or any of the other nice little lunar terms that are out there. I kind of wish it did, but it's a good thing to add to the weather app anyhow, which contains really a ton of data now. Safari made a couple of changes to private browsing. The first one that I think everyone should do, if you do use private browsing as a feature, is you can use Face ID to secure any private browsing tabs you keep open. That way, if you do keep private browsing open, if someone were to pick up your phone and it not be unlocked, the actual browsing tabs will lock and can only be unlocked with either Face ID or with a passcode. So it's right there in, again, settings, and you find Safari in the settings, and it's just a matter of turning on that require Face ID to unlock private browsing toggle. It's off by default, but it's simple enough to turn on. And another feature in Safari related to private browsing is that you can now change your web search engine. It used to be Google by default. Now it's a matter of you can go into settings and again select any one of a number of I think it's 5 or 6 different browsers, DuckDuckGo, what have you. So let's see, is that the last slide? I think it's the last slide that I have. There are a few more things that didn't lend themselves to slides that I'd like to go over. one of which is FaceTime gestures. If you've got an iPhone 12 or later, and you use the front camera to have a FaceTime conversation, you can now use gestures to trigger video effects. And I'm going to demonstrate, obviously, since we're on Zoom, the effects won't appear, but if you would like fireworks to appear, 2 thumbs up. If you want it to rain, 2 thumbs down. Hearts will appear if you give it a thumbs up, and dislike, a graphic appears for that if you do thumbs down. Balloons appear when you do the peace sign, and double peace signs send confetti down. So it's again, much like the live stickers, it's not the most elaborate feature or the most necessary feature, but it does add a bit of fun to the mix. These are some quick ones. You can now share passwords with members of your family. In the password sections of settings, you can create a group, designate who you're sharing passwords with, and designate which apps you're sharing passwords with. Again, my wife is tired of me asking what the Disney Plus password is every time I'm loading up that app on a phone I've tested. So now we've added that to the shared passwords. You do have to go through the list of every password on your phone. So my suggestion is that you identify the apps with passwords you want to save and just select those. You can always add more later. Let's see. Other things. There are a couple of features that were high-profile features that I am not really understanding or not really seeing, I think need more work from Apple that I'd like to talk about. One is poster cards. These are the new contact cards that Apple created. They're fun to make, and they do add a level of personalization. My frustration is you exchange them with a new feature called Name Drop, which basically acts like AirDrop and allows you to pass that information back and forth just by putting your iPhone in proximity to each other. I've not been able to make it work consistently. I'm told by folks that it works best when that person is not already in your contacts. I'm going to keep giving it a try, but so far, Name Drop hasn't been a great hit with me. Standby mode, I do like a lot. This is the feature that Apple has added when you're charging your phone horizontally. And it will basically turn your iPhone into a smart screen. You can set it up on the phone itself to show either a clock. You can have some widgets on there, and if they're interactive widgets, you can even have your reminders right there and tick them off in standby mode. You can have a photo slideshow going too. There are 2 issues I have with it. One, I don't like that I have to be in standby mode to set it up and to modify it. I wish that there was some other way to work on that app. Then again, I'm a guy who's still disappointed that Apple removed the ability to set up your iPhone screen using iTunes. So I'll get over that one day. My main complaint, though, is standby mode works best if you have a phone with an always-on display feature. And right now that's for devices, the iPhone 14 Pro models, the iPhone 15 Pro models. If you don't have always-on display, after a time in standby mode, the screen will go to sleep, and you've either got to tap it to restart it, or it's a limited use right now. I think when you have an always-on display, it's a full feature. So I think it's something that Apple could probably perfect in a future update, but that's all that they have for right now. So that's kind of the end of my presentation. I wanted to open it up to questions. If there are any features that you wanted to talk about or ask me about, I'm happy to try my best at answering those.
Have you used the profiles in the Safari?
Yes, briefly I have. It's pretty easy to set up, and it works well if you want to separate your work life from your personal life. I know that many of us use our iPhones really for it serves multiple purposes. It's helpful. Like any feature, it's something that requires you to actively manage and know to toggle back and forth. But it's a valuable feature.
Is the 17 only available to the current new phone?
No. If you anything from an iPhone 10s or 10R or later can download iOS 17. That includes the iPhone SE that came out in 2020, as well as the one that came out last year in 2022. Basically, if you could run iOS 16, any phone except for the iPhone 10, the iPhone 8, and the iPhone 8 Plus are able to upgrade to iOS 17.
Well, it doesn't show up under settings.
Interesting. What phone do you have?
6. Well, I'm sorry, I don't remember.
Okay. If it's I would yeah, if your phone is eligible to run it, it would be under settings, general software update. If it's not there, you may not have a phone that supports it.
Oh, well, let me see. I think it's a 15.
Oh, if it's an iPhone 15, it should run it.
Well, it's only showing me, well, I didn't use the update, the iOS 16.7.1. I didn't update to that.
Update to that first, just so that your phone is totally up to date, and then I think it might appear.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
tell her to scroll down at the bottom. It's hidden. If you scroll up a little bit, you'll see the update to 17.
Scroll up. No.
Yeah, if you're on that software update one.
Oh, I see it.
scroll
No, I
up
see it.
down at the
I do
bottom.
see it. I see it at the bottom.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Thanks. Thank you.
Philip, thank you for your presentation. It reminds me of how I hate to examine all of the new stuff when an update comes out. I just never get around to looking at all of it. Thank you very much.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes.
For the alarms that you set, how do you put the label on?
Oh, let's see. I'm gonna kind of walk through it as I do it here, but if I were to go to the timer tab, start your timer, and tap on the timer, and there should be, I'm holding it up very poorly. There's a label
Okay.
area right here, and tap that, and you can add the label to it.
Okay, cool, got it, thanks.
No problem.
Now, one of the things I use, and for a timer is I listen to music at night, I cut it down, and then if I have the timer on, it will shut the music off. What happens if you have multiple timers? Which one did you use, the first one or what?
I've never used the timer feature in the way that you do, so I would be interested to know. I would assume if there are multiple timers, it would probably shut down with the first one.
Yeah.
And of course, you'd have to run the multiple timers to find out, but I would assume it would be the first one. There were actually two Siri related things that I didn't talk about that if you'll indulge me, I'll talk about them now. As you may or may not know, you no longer have to say, "Hey Siri," to wake up Siri. And forgive me if I end up waking up anyone's phone besides my own. You can now go into settings and toggle it in using the Siri and search setting and just say Siri will wake up Siri now in iOS 17. And in fact, I have woken up Siri. So that is something you can do. Like I said, the downside to this is if, like me, you end up saying Siri a lot or write your articles as you read your articles as you're writing them out loud. I tend to wake up Siri about 3 times a day when I don't mean to. Another great feature, Siri will now read articles to you if you ask it. I find this helpful when, for my Safari reading list, I'll end up adding an article to read later and then never get around to reading it. So now I can have Siri read it to me when I'm out for a walk or doing chores, and I don't have to look at the screen. So I'm going to try it here. And hopefully you'll pick up the audio, but Siri, read this article to me. Siri, read the article to me.
Mayor Max III carries the mantle of the Golden Retrievers who went before him, led by his human chief of staff. A sandy-haired hedonist with a penchant for hamburgers and kissing babies on paper.
Anyhow, that's it's a nice, cool little way to get through web articles when you again need to keep your eyes on the road or you're out for a walk or doing something else to where you can't sit down and read the article for yourself. And I actually find series occasionally there's a strange pause in there, but it's a pretty good reading tool.
I've also found that consecutive commands with her for him, depending on your settings, have also been really, really helpful too. That way you don't have to say it each time if you're asking one after the other.
Yes, that's a very good point. And another great addition in iOS 17, you can now string together multiple commands without having to wake up Siri each time.
Oh.
I can try and demonstrate that as well. Siri. Hey, Siri. What is the weather like in San Francisco today?
Looks like it will be partly cloudy in San Francisco.
And I put Siri to sleep there. But I could then ask Siri what the traffic is like into San Francisco without having to say, "Hey Siri," and it would know what I'm talking about. So it's like you say, it's a very nice little time saver.
Cool. Yeah. Excellent. Anybody else? All right. Well, thanks, Philip. Again, we appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, yes. All right.
Well, again, I appreciate it, and thank you, and I hope you have a great rest of your meeting.
All right. All right. Take care.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
For those of you virtually, we're going to step outside and
I'd like to mention something.
Okay.
You mentioned about the solar eclipse, which is not total. But I had heard on the news last night that you really shouldn't look at it even with sunglasses. Unless you
True.
got super, and even if you take a picture with your iPhone, it could mess up the lens.
yes, so let's be
Yes.
very careful. Don't
Do
look
not
at it.
record it.
Don't. Yeah. You should be able to see some very interesting things on the sidewalk around trees and whatnot. It acts as lenses. You can see the crescent.
The crescent will be in the leaves. We'll go up
Yeah.
the tree here, and you'll see
Okay.
right under here, you see the
I'll
crescent.
follow you.